But now I'm going to take a seat and start introducing to you quickly the topic of our final panel, because it really brings together two key themes that we need to address in order to make sure that women have the equal share in the energy transition that they should have, but that they also need to have in order to make this transition possible. And those are the topics of education and finance. So we've heard some encouraging numbers today. We had some bright numbers from Ellen and Ingrid and our opening keynote and motivational speech as well. So things are improving. However, on a whole, of course, there's still huge unleveraged potential because of the few numbers of women actually represented in management positions in the energy industry overall. And that shortage, of course, also has further implications and problems. We heard in our opening keynote about all the future jobs that are going to be created. Of course, we need skilled labor to take those jobs. And so where is that upskilling going to come from? How are we going to create the right educational opportunities for women to be able to partake equally in these opportunities? And also, how do we make sure, and this is really linking on to the session that we just heard now about investment potential, how do we make sure that women have equal access to financing in this sector? Really also a prerequisite for them to be equally part of this scene. So those, like I said, two key aspects that are often named as barriers and hindrances: the lack of financing for female-led enterprises and initiatives, and the lack of education for women and girls in certain regions of the world, and the ability to learn about STEM topics are the barriers we want to overcome. And how to do that, that is what we'd like to now discuss in this final panel session. So now we've finished the stage build up and I finished my introduction. I would like you to warmly welcome our speakers with me on stage. And you can feel free to come up as I introduce you. First of all, so thrilled to finally meet in person Dr. Rashi Gupta, who is fondly known as the Battariwali of India. She is a pioneer. Her company is also pioneering manufacturing advanced lithium batteries in India, along with the smartest lithium battery of the world. She is the founder and managing director of Vision Mechatronics Private Limited, which is leading towards, welcome on stage, first of all. Let's give you an applause. Do you want to come next to me here? So, a name to reckon with in the field of robotics, renewable energy, and energy storage. And really, Rashi is such a force in the field, and I'm so happy to have her on stage with me. Welcome.
Thank you.
Next up, I would like to warmly welcome Samira Sousa, who has worked in the energy sector since 2003 in different positions of responsibility, including being the General Coordinator for Environmental Sustainability at the energy sector of the Ministry of Mines and Energy in Brazil until 2010. And then until 2018, she supported the development of public policies on renewable energy, hydrogen, and fuel cells, as part of the Ministry of Science, Technology and Innovation. And since March 2018, and let's give her a big hand as she takes the stage. Since March 2018, Samira has assumed the position of the General Coordinator of Energy Efficiency at the Ministry of Mines and Energy, Brazil. Welcome. I am also so excited to welcome on our stage Bärbel Höhn, who is a German politician for Allianz 90, Bündnis 90, Die Grüne, and has really a very long-standing political career in the sectors agriculture and environment. Welcome, Bärbel Höhn. It's great to have you here. And in her current position since November 2017, Bärbel has been acting as an unpaid special representative for energy in Africa on behalf of the Federal Ministry for Economic Cooperation and Development, BMWK, and plays a special role in this regard to promote the Green People's Energy Initiative with her many years of political experience in citizen-based renewable energy. Thanks so much for being here today. two more fantastic women to take the stage. I'd like to warmly welcome Puk van Basten, who works as a junior project manager across the performance and investments portfolio, providing support to consumer protection and circularity activities. She leads Gogla's work on corporate governance and the Lean Network, which she engages with very small and locally owned companies. So our investment expert on this panel. Welcome, Puk. And last but not least, I'd like to warmly welcome Michelle Lingam, founder of the Solar Power Cafe, SAF, that she started in 2017 after recognizing a need to really translate what's happening in the world of solar energy for sales and marketing, and especially for women wanting to engage in that field. Welcome, Michelle. So we have two topics we want to tackle, education and finance. I'd like to start with the education topic, come to the finance, and hopefully weave them together. And of course, we'd love to take your questions and comments as well. Michelle, I would love to begin with you and give you a little bit of space to tell your story, the inspiration point for opening this cafe, and why you felt it so important to create this access point for information for women.
Okay, so first of all, I realized the need, after working with engineers for a long time, that they don't necessarily communicate very effectively with clients. And when you're doing home installations for solar PV, most of the time you're going to talk to homeowners, you're going to talk to housewives. So instead of talking at the people, you talk to them, you talk with them, you have a conversation and break down difficult technical concepts. And I decided to call myself a tech translator. So I've got a finance background, but between 2018 and this year, 2022, I've done a number of renewable energy qualifications, and I've been on site practically for 4 years. So when I engage with the client, I know what it is that they're saying, but I also know what it is that the engineers are saying, and what is it that the technology can do. So how do we bring those three things together? And I think that was my starting point for why I said, how do we make it more approachable? How do we make engineering approachable? And do good business, do sustainable business.
And tell us a little bit the story, like the story of how you set up and where it's gone now.
Yeah, okay, so when I started out, I knew absolutely nothing about even how an inverter works. But I went out and I started doing wedding shows. I went to food markets. I was everywhere where families were. So I didn't do the technical shows because everybody is there already. I went to where families are going to be meeting on a Saturday and a Sunday morning, and that's how we grew the business, and that's how we found our clients, which were 80% homeowners.
Wow, that's fantastic. And an interesting hack, where to find the right people and how to maybe venture out also of what's in your direct view field in order to access them.
That's right. And also talking to people in a comfortable setting. Normally on the weekends, they are comfortable. They're spending time with their families. They're a lot more open to talking to you about like a solar system at home.
Yeah. Fantastic. Thank you for sharing that. So, and please feel free to jump in if you want to comment on anything your fellow panelists are saying. Speaking maybe also from your own experience, Rashi, how do you see the potential of bringing in more girls, more women into the field of STEM education, and really creating opportunities where they can perhaps experience a potential that they've not tapped into yet, the way that Michelle opened it up with her cafe?
Okay. I personally feel that energy is beyond electricity, first. We all are energy here. I am energy, you are energy, and we all are creating certain amount of energy around each one of us. So when we talk about bringing more women on board, what are we trying to do here? We're trying to create a balance in the energy. Each one of us has two types of energy, a masculine energy and a feminine energy. So here what we are trying to do now is that we are trying to create a balance by adding a little more feminine energy. So what happens is when we are talking of STEM, in STEM, we have forgotten ourselves to be treated as professionals. We have been looking ourselves with a gender lens, and we need to forget that. We need to come out of the gender lens, each one of us. whether it's a man or it's a woman. We need to just remove that spectacle of the gender lens, and we need to look at ourselves as professionals. We were both imparted the same education in the schools or colleges. There was no differentiation made at that time. So why should we have that differentiation made when we are trying to enter into any professional domain? So we need to sensitize right from the beginning. It's a responsibility of all of us together, and especially the young parents now, to sensitize both their children, whether it's a girl child or a boy child, to let them decide how much they want to go, in which fields they want to go, whether they want to take up STEM, whether they want to take up any other non-STEM career, and let them decide. But we need to give them an informed choice. That is going to change the way we will have the next generation coming up as professionals. And that will bring more and more women on board. Because if we don't sensitize and don't give an informed choice to the young children, we will never have a balance in the workforce. It will always be a imbalanced workforce, and there might not be a good workforce available in the coming few years. Because there's already a shortage of the talent pool that we see now. So what are we trying to do to correct that? And if we don't correct it now, globally, we will be in ultimate shortage of a good talent pool for the coming years. And women have a lot more responsibility because they play dual roles. One as a professional and second as a mother. Very, very crucial, because what you think is what your child is going to think. That's the way your child is going to grow. So it's our responsibility to change the way the world is seeing us now. Because we have to see ourselves with a new lens, with a complete new lens. Because we are bringing much more energy on the table. We are bringing a different, unique energy on the table. And it's beyond education, it's beyond finance, it's beyond our work roles that we are doing. Because we are so powerful that we have to discover our power now. We have to unleash our full potential today. And if we don't do it now, we will never be able to do it. And that is what I realized when I came into the energy sector. That's a wrong statement. I'm still in the robotics sector. But what attracted me was clean energy. Why? Because I was doing an internal cleaning. I was cleaning my own energies. There was a previous statement in the previous panel, where this felt, sorry, I'm going a little overboard, but there was a previous panel where they said that, we feel that there are more women in the renewable energy sector than in the traditional oil and gas sector. Why? Because we like cleanliness. Renewable energies bring clean energies. And we are attracted to cleanliness. We are attracted to nice, good, happy things. So why do not we create a happy energy around us? So it's internal cleaning, and when you do internal cleaning of your energies, you do external cleaning of your energies. And that's when we will create a balance, and we will strike and change the way world will perceive us. So what I'm now trying to do is bringing a good change in energies, because I believe firmly that energy is beyond electricity. And it is important to sensitize everyone around us to create this new energy that we all need now. We have to bring in a balance, and it is a law universally that it's cyclic. Everything is cyclic. So what has gone from us is now going to come back to us. So it's time that the women take the front stage, take up the energies, absorb them, adapt to them, and bring about the change.
And of course, there are many societies around the world where there's not that equal opportunity for, especially at a young educational age, for boys and girls to access education in an equal way, even though they might have the same subjects at school. But of course, we know, I don't want to elaborate too long on the question, but how do we create programs, and what are you, maybe we'll come to what you're doing in Brazil, also to further STEM education, to make sure there is that potential open to everyone?
Well, first of all, thank you very much for being here. It's really been a glad experience for me. And I'm really short-term involved in this gender topics, but it's been also very nice to count on the partnership that we are having with GIZ, because we are trying to improve this, to bring and to promote the participation of girls and women in the STEM careers, especially in the field of renewable energies and energy efficiencies. In Brazil, in the energy sector, the Ministry of Mines and Energy coordinates for like almost 20 years a committee for gender and racial and diversity topics with all the companies vinculated to the ministry. And now with the partnership with GIZ, we are also improving the capacities of these institutions. But with a component of our partnership together with the Ministry of Education, we supported a big program in Brazil that is called Energive. It's a program that's run by the professional education network in Brazil. It's almost 600, more than 600 institutions around the country that gives technical professional education. And together with this network, GIZ and in a component called Professionals from the Energy Professionals from the Future, we are trying to improve the participation of women. Some institutions are already giving some, reserving some vacancies for women in their technical courses, or rather also defining specific specific classes just for women. For example, in the technical courses, training courses for photovoltaic panel installers, we already have just women classes, women groups working on this. And this is quite a revolution in the sector, because these technical courses, and especially when women have to go to a practical profession like this, people have a lot of reservations. Oh, do you know what you are doing? Are you really sure? Are you sure that you are in the right place? And yes, they are having this very good experience of being accepted and being showing to the other male colleagues that yes, we do the same work and with the same quality, and we can contribute to the energy sector in Brazil.
Yeah.
So this has been a very good experience at the time.
Yeah, it's interesting, like just very anecdotally quickly, before we started our panel earlier on hydrogen, I confessed to one of our panelists that I am not an expert on hydrogen. And we had a little bit of a side conversation saying, don't doubt yourself. You know, why would you doubt yourself in a situation where you're clearly in a professional setting and well prepared and everything? And I think this is a good example for how, yes, of course, we are sort of our own bosses, what you were saying, and how do we project ourselves. But of course, that's also a result of the pressures of patriarchy that have been put upon us. And so it needs to be a balancing act, right, of seeing how can we support ourselves, encourage ourselves to speak up and speak forward, but at the same time work on these things on a systemic level so that future generations don't have to suffer from imposter syndrome the way that we are perhaps doing. Barbara, I would really love to bring you in on the conversation, also with your long-term experience looking both at Germany or Europe as well as the work that you've been doing in Africa. Like, where do you see shifts happening? And do you have any maybe reflections on what kind of programs actually work to offer these educational opportunities to girls and women?
Yes, thank you so much for inviting me. Maybe before I'm coming to the point that I'm now engaged in energy, I would tell you why I'm engaged in politics. And that's a long time ago, more than 40 years, and we moved with a young family with our 2 little boys, 1 and 2.5 years old, from a clean air region of Germany to a polluted region of Germany to the Ruhr region. And our little boy became very ill with bronchitis. And I decided to be engaged in politics, to fight for clean air and for a better situation for children. In 1995, first I was engaged on the town level and then on the state level, and so I became, in 1995, from an activist to a minister in charge of agriculture and environment. Agriculture means the double shock for the farmers, because I was from the Green Party and a woman. So that was really a double shock for them, you know. But I had to deal with a steel firm, ThyssenKrupp. I had to deal with chemical industry, Bayer. I had to deal with RWE because of lignite coal and hard coal. So because North Rhine-Westphalia is the biggest state in Germany, and maybe you can compare it with the Netherlands from GDP. So, and what helped me in this situation, that was my study, because I studied mathematics and economy. And that means I was respected by men, because there are a lot of men who were not as strong as I was in mathematics, you know. And they say, oh, women are not, they can't analyze any situation, they can't think logical, but they couldn't say it to me, you know. And the other advantage was that I have a dark voice, because I think they would like to criticize this very high voices, because it's something hearing like a baby. No, it's not so good. Yeah, so I had these 2 advantages. Now I'm engaged in energy, but I will tell you that I worked for 12 years in the parliamentarian Green group in the German Bundestag. And we from the Greens say that more than 50% of all our parliamentarians must be women, must be. And we have now about 57% of our parliamentarians are women. And really 80% of our energy experts and climate experts are women in the parliamentarian group of the Green Party. So that means if you have really a majority of women, we encourage them to be active even in this field. When I came to Africa, that was really surprising to me, because I learned that women have an advantage when we are investing in renewable energies. So I saw the solar home systems, and the solar home system companies told me they are making only contracts with women, because they couldn't trust the men that they pay the money back, you know. They go drinking some beer and have no money to pay it back, you know. So the women are the owners of the solar home systems. And then they can earn a bit money, because most of them have charging systems. And then charge the cell phones of their neighbors, have some income. And even, for example, if you have light in your room, it's not the danger of fire, and it's not the smoke of candles. So, and even, for example, if you have clean cooking. So the circumstances of renewables, bringing access to energy to the women in rural areas, that helps this woman. And what we are doing now with our programs, because I'm now special representative of energy for Africa from the Federal Ministry of Economic Cooperation and Development. So it's a long title. And so I'm looking for energy in Africa, and especially in rural areas. And what we are doing is that we have special programs for women. For example, we are supporting partnerships between German cooperatives and African cooperatives, and looking for women's cooperatives, energy cooperatives. And that's even in Germany a problem, you know, so, but more in Africa. Or, for example, we make some training courses for women, so that they are experts and can work, for example, in the ministries, because that is important, to bring them to positions where they have power and can decide. Or, for example, we make dairy cooperatives only from women, and that they can earn money, and you can see, you have good examples for others who can look for that. I think that are main points to support women, and one of the main points that was just mentioned here is networking, because the men, they have a lot of networks, and they are supporting each other to the next position. And I think we must do that as women too. So let's learn maybe in this point from the men, and then maybe front runners when we have the race with the men.
Thank you, Barbara. That's why it's so great that we get to meet here today. Just a quick side question. I don't know if you're connected already, but maybe this is a good opportunity to see. Potentially you could work together with Michelle as well. Maybe just quickly, Michelle, just to loop you back in, also having talked a little bit about the role of international cooperation and development cooperation, where do you, where would you see points to come in and really support the upskilling of women in this sector in order for them to be able to take up future opportunities, like beyond also the scope that you're doing?
Okay, the first thing I'm going to start with is that I find in South Africa now that there are more opportunities coming available, but I also find that women are not taking them. Mm-hmm. So that's something that was also mentioned today. So I think that's something that's so important, is start, but then finish. And then actually have a goal to do something with that knowledge that you've learned and apply it, and then take it into the market. Because as an entrepreneur, I'm interested in sustainable business going forward. And I think there's financing options available to us. There's a lot of things available to us, but we're not necessarily stepping up and taking those opportunities and saying, okay, no, I am going to finance my business. The previous lady mentioned something very important with the VC funding.
Yeah.
When she said, we hear big numbers and we don't want to say those big numbers. And I find myself the same. I'm like, okay, here's a gentleman with a solar company and he wants to scale and grow. He mentions a certain figure. I'm too scared to mention that figure because I'm like, I'm not comfortable saying that. And I think that's the first point of departure that maybe we won't fix necessarily in our generation, but the next one, that we are comfortable talking about money and things like investment and talking about profit in a positive way. It's not something ugly. It's how you need to sustain the business.
Thank you, because this is a great segue into our second topic, financing, that I want to get into now. I just want to ask a question, especially to the founders on the panel, or entrepreneurs also on the panel, because I thought it was, and this is in no way a critique of the great workshop that Amanda just gave, because there's a logic connected to investment, right? Especially when we're talking about VC funding and how to get to it. And this is just an assumption based on personal statistical gathering, the difference between male and female founders in some contexts about why do you found a company in the first place? And is your plan ever to exit, or is your plan to grow a business that you will be growing? And what was that like for you?
I think for me, being in the 6th year, I only now understand what I want to do and how I want to do it moving forward. And I think I'm only now actually investment ready and know what is it that I want to achieve. But it took 6 years.
And it's maybe good, though, that you took your time to really figure out what you want investment for.
That's right. I've been an entrepreneur for 13 years, and 6 of those have been in PV. But I also know, if I can say, something personal, you know why you're getting up in the morning. You know what value you're adding to somebody and to a project, to people that you're meeting. But it takes time. In my case, it was 6 years.
Yeah. Thank you, Michelle. I want to ask you the same question, Rashi, and this is just a presumptuous comment, but when after having met you online and now, you also strike me as the founder that wants to build their company and not sell it to a quick exit because you believe in what you're doing and the mission of the company. Is that right?
Absolutely right. I want to create more value. And that's the reason why I founded this, and that's the reason why I'm doing it. Because like what she said just now, every day when you wake up, there has to be a reason. Mm-hmm. There has to be a reason to go to work. And my reason is that I am creating a better earth. I'm creating a better value for each one of us. I'm creating a value for each one that is connected with me. I am bringing about a positive change. And I'm happy about it. Even though it could be small, it could be big, it could be maybe a miniature, but it is going to create an impact. And that's why I will not give up on the value that I'm creating. I will continue to make it sustainable, to make it affordable, to make it acceptable, and to make it expandable, and to make it transmissible with lots of energy to every possible corner that I can take it.
Yeah. And I think you'll take it to all the corners. But sorry for just bringing you in just now, but maybe we can start by just looking at that and seeing how do you address these different sort of founders' mindsets and founders' needs, especially when advising female founders on investment potential.
I think one of the things we do right now in GOGLA, I think as a background, GOGLA is the Global Association for the Off-Grid Solar Industry. And we currently started a program that is called Elevate. It focuses on locally owned companies, and we see that a bunch of them are actually female-led. So we try to help these companies increase their investor readiness. Make the connections, as indeed we see that for female founders it is harder to have the connections. As we see some other fundraising barriers, I think we also heard some stories of maybe this doesn't resonate with the VC that we just heard, but investors asking female founders whether they would plan to have children or like what's your plan. So we really see that it's harder for female founders to fundraise, especially in addition to their male peers. So I think we try to have different programs tailored to different needs of the companies in our sector.
So how do you have these maybe conversations with both the investor side as well as the entrepreneur side? Can you invest in a company that is not looking for an exit ever, but to build a company that might be passed over generations? Or is there just a mismatch between some of our entrepreneurial cultures and mindsets and the finance world that we're living in today?
Well, I'm not sure. I think that's a tough question. It's a good thing to strive for an exit, of course. In the end, that's what you want. But I do think the focus shouldn't be. I think that's what resonates with what we heard before. It takes like 10 years to go to an exit, so it's really about the impact you will create in these 10 years. And as was said before, it's about bringing the value every day within these 10 years. So I'm not sure if there's really a mismatch. Maybe some others have different ideas on that.
We'll pass that round in a sec. Maybe just quickly to get back to the barriers. Do you feel we've already outlined the key barriers, or are there others that we haven't addressed that you encounter in your everyday life?
Well, what we see, I think, is that really one of the most the greatest barrier is time constraints for women. Of course, they have more responsibilities at home. So on the fact that Michelle said, I think maybe it's not that women do not take opportunities, even if they are there, but they just really are not in a position to take them. So I think on that point, it's really, really important for any training education program to be flexible, so that it can exist next to women's other responsibilities. And I think on that point, digitalization could be a really, really great game changer. So if women are able to follow remote trainings, increase their digital literature, I think that will empower them more and make sure that they are able to as well fulfill their other responsibilities, and at the same time, enter the workforce more easily, I think.
Thank you. Do you want to comment, Sure, please?
Yeah. When we are talking of barriers, I think it's in the mindset. The barrier is here, right in me, and barrier is not outside. I'll give a very simple example. When we look at water, in Germany, the tap water is potable. I can see somebody smiling. So in Germany, tap water is potable, but in India, sometimes tap water is not potable. We cannot drink it. But when many of us come to Germany, we have this barrier in our mind that we cannot. How can I go to a bathroom or a restroom and lift up the tap and drink the water? Now, what I want to portray here is that these are small mental barriers, everyday barriers that we have. This is just one example. There could be many other examples in your daily lives that you have barriers. When we overcome these small barriers, we can overcome the bigger barriers. So the point here is that we have to start with ourselves, and motherhood is not a barrier. It's the creation of a leader. Motherhood, remember, is not a barrier to your career. Motherhood is creation of a leader. You are the leader of your family. And when you can lead your family, you can lead the globe. So you all are here, very capable. Please break the first small mental daily barriers that you have. And then together you can break the bigger barriers of your professional lives, of your personal lives also. Many of us have many challenges. Every day we have to day in, day out deal with it. But you can break it. And you are the creator because you bring about life, right? So you are leaders and you can change the scenario completely.
I want to ask in a minute what we need to also do from a policy side to make sure that there are these equal opportunities. Maybe quickly before Bebe, though, I mean, I would very much wish that we would transition soon into a world where it's not the woman that has to justify herself what she wants to do with her life and whether she wants to have a baby, but where we educate the probably male VC asking this question, that their question is miseducated and a wrong question to ask. So, you know, turning it around and not always having the pressure just on us, but having us put the pressure on the other side to get it right. So again, like looking at it more from a policy perspective, what do we need in terms of policy to create these more level playing fields and to push the responsibility also where it belongs, really?
As I said, even in Germany, the structures are not equal for women and men. And maybe especially in Germany, because if we compare it with other countries around, I think it's a bit because of our past, of the fascistic regime of Hitler, because he promoted a woman with a lot of children, you know, and staying home and looking only for the family. And that's a bit in our history, and even, for example, in conservative parties. And so it's important to show that, for example, the Green Party has a structure of more women. So that is very important because you need more than 50%, I think, of women to have the power in a round table or something like that. And even in Germany, we noticed that young women, young politicians are really mobbed from the media, from special conservative medias. Maybe you noticed that our Minister of Foreign Affairs, Annalena Baerbock, she would like to be really head of our campaign in the election, and was so criticized because of small mistakes. And the men, they can make a lot of big mistakes, and nobody would like to criticize them, you know? And I think in this situation, it is important that you have people, maybe your family or maybe other women who support you. I had the same when I would like to, and when I was chair of the Green Parliamentarian Group, when we came the first time in the state parliament, you know, they would like to mob me, really, and it was really hard, really hard. And sometimes I thought, I must be tough because I wouldn't like that these people have the victory, you know. It can't be that they would like to press me back, you know. That was, but it was really hard. And I think as a woman you must have in your mind that it can be a hard situation. And in this situation you need support. That is very important. And that means you need networks, you need maybe your family or friends or girlfriends. That's important that they encourage you to stay and to be at the end successful.
Yeah. Yeah, and to create the same strong, please, you can clap. Do clap. Same strong personal and professional networks that, that men have built successfully. And of course, that is a key part to it. And there are so many ways that policy can be effective and be creative in a way too. A quota is one thing, I'm just going to say the word because I feel it needs to be said, and it's obviously been an effective measure in the Green Party, but also other policy tools. I recently read that some European countries are finally banning gendered advertisements for toys. And I feel the German toy industry is built on gendered advertisement, basically. So there are many different ways that policy can take effect. Samira, I want to bring you back in and hear from it also from a Brazilian perspective. What do you see as key policy tools that you can bring in to create these more level playing fields for women?
Well, in my short experience, little experience in these issues, I think everybody has said here that support for women is very important because if you don't have support, you cannot equalize the opportunities. So I think even when we have already had experience, heard about the experience of a private company that would like to help to hire welders, I think, and a gas company, and they provided a course that was the major of the candidates were women, and that was like something surprising for them. But the women could not participate. Most of them could not participate because they don't have the support of to let the children at home with somebody. So the company had the initiative to talk to the mayor of the city and the government, local government, established new the schools for the children, where the mothers could leave them there and then complete the course, the training courses, and all of them were hired by the company. So it was a very successful experience. And yes, I think also in the energy sector and any sector, you have to have support for the women. So I think this is the way the policies should evolve to promote the opportunities equally. Somebody said in the last panel that you just have to have more ambitions. No, but we are also more responsible. Women are naturally more responsible because we have the two roles. So you have to balance your responsibilities and your roles. And so if you don't have support for achieve the ambitious goal you have to your career, you will not go to there. So I think this is the way we should go on the policies.
Thank you, Samira. I want to leave time for your questions and comments as well. We have a microphone here for you. And you know, we all have a very friendly atmosphere here, so you don't have to be shy about taking the microphone. So who would like to ask a question to the panel, or maybe you have a comment or an experience you'd like to share yourself? Right here, then please. Oh. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Women Energize Women, GIZ, BEE, GW Network for this opportunity. Also, thanks for the panel for the discussion. It's very, very thought-provoking. I like it. Thank you very much. I want to share the experience with regard to policy perspective and also to touch also on the part of the girls taking STEM subject. With regard to the, I'm Winnie Mama Charaga from South Africa, Department of Mineral Resources and Energy. With regard to policy perspective, I would like to share that as a department, we just developed the Women Empowerment and Gender Equality Strategy. It was just launched last year by the Minister of Mineral Resources and Energy. And what we have put as part of the strategy, I just want to really emphasize that what you are discussing, what you are saying, it's really in line and it's really true. So what we have put in the strategy, we have put 4 pillars in terms of achieving women empowerment and gender equality in the energy sector. So we have focused on the capacity building to ensure that women are really empowered, not only in terms of, those that are internal, and also for those that are outside. I would really like to echo also what Michelle has said in terms of information, because what we have done is we moved around the country to check what are the challenges, and we realized that women are there. Some of them don't know about those opportunities, and those that know, they don't know how to access them, or they experience challenges in terms of getting funding. So capacity building will be able to cover that internally as employees and also those that wants to join the value chain. The second part is the issue of the structures, the policies, and the partnership. It's really important to take with you partners with you, because it's really difficult. You cannot be able to do that alone. Hence, we are here to network and join hands and assist each other. The other pillar was the governance, where really, of course, especially developing countries, we don't have funding. So it's very important that we really join hands with those that will be able to help us. And as government, sometimes, like with our department, we don't have money for programs. But through partnership that we have developed with different companies like GIZ, we are able to develop women, and so that they can be part of the and also develop program and also conduct those programs. Because also the other thing is some of those okay. And then the last part is women economic empowerment, where there are women outside. We encourage them. We give them information on how to be part of the energy sector as entrepreneurs, how to access them and everything. And what we have also done is we have established a structure where it's representative of all energy resources, where we know that in the oil and gas we've got a representative, and they come back and help us with the implementation of the strategy. The other challenge is women, companies, they don't know where are those women. So we have developed a Women in Energy directory where they register where they are, and companies or whoever want those women will be able to come to us, and we share information. And with regard to the learners, as a department, we have a program called School Energy Days for grade 9 and 11, where we encourage them to study STEM subject. And furthermore, we also encourage them. It's not only about STEM subject, because you can be part of the energy sector as a lawyer, as an economist, just to support what Dr. Gupta indicated. And then from there, we have got another program called Learners Focus Week for university students, for grade 10, those that are approaching universities, we give them bursaries, and then from there, companies also employ them at the end of the day. Then we take them to the employment mainstream, and that's, thank you very much.
Thank you so much for sharing that. It's It's great to hear about the fantastic work they're doing, and I think that was a very important point made. We, of course, need people from different professions, from different backgrounds, different disciplines to engage. We need engineers, yes, but of course we need to look at this in a very interdisciplinary way as well. So thanks very much for sharing that point. Please. So maybe you can also, I don't want to say line up because it doesn't sound so nice, but if you want to come to the front, if you have a question, I think we'll have time for 2 or 3, then please feel free to do that in case I don't see your hands so well, please.
Yeah, it's working. Well, first of all, thank you all for sharing your insights. I think it was really interesting. And then my kind of point is like moving from women to actually men, because as much as I really love those initiatives and all the events and all the spirit about enabling women and also supporting women, I kind of feel like right at the moment we are at a crucial point, at least when I talk to my male friends, where they kind of feel left behind in terms of they kind of feel like women want to take over their places, their jobs, their role, I don't know, whatever. And so I was wondering if and how you actually talk to men about this topic, about feminism, about whether they or how they would like to support women, and actually what kind of responses you get from them.
Who wants to start? Michelle?
Yeah, I'll actually take that one, thank you. My brother is a mechanical engineer, and he's facing exactly what you're saying now. So he's like, Michelle, it almost seems that that's the non-engineer, is getting more opportunities than me. And I said to him, look, I do see there's some sort of skewed distribution in terms of like promotion of women. However, if let's take an example of a home installation. I can't just have a group of ladies there. I do need people to carry 60-kilogram batteries. I need people to go 2 stories up, 4 stories up and put solar panels there. So I think it's important to keep the sentiment that we are pro-women, we're not anti-men. So that's very important to me, and I also use that kind of language with my team also. I've got an 80% male team because they're the ones doing the physical work. So as much as I'm the project manager, we need to still work very well together. And I think the sentiment of, everything is about women is important, but it doesn't mean we start pushing men to the background.
Thanks, Michelle. Please, Bebo.
I think it's very important that we are not showing the men we are better. We are not better, but the men are not better too. I think the difference is that we have another view of our society and of the problems. And the problems we have now, for example, of climate change, is because we have too many old white men in decision positions, and we must... And that is what we would like to change. Because when we have a look of different societies, we can see that the societies that gave the woman a better chance to come to positions and make decisions, they are in a better situation. So that's the same if you have a company and half of your knowledge, half of your experience you don't use, you will not have the best result, and that's what we can tell the men. Yes, I think sometimes we have some fights with old men, but we can work together with the young men, because I have two boys, and they are really great, and I think they learned from me, from the mother, that we can work together, and we can participate both. That's a benefit for both, because my 2 boys, they are very glad to have more time for their children. And a lot of young men here in Germany would like to have this time because they love it. They love it not only to stay in the job and have no time for the families. I think they are bigger and better when they have both.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the lady in the beautifully embroidered top raised her hand. Was that you? And you as well? Both of you, please still feel free to ask your questions.
Thanks. I'll try to be really short. My name is Christina. I'm from Women Energy Club of Ukraine. And my message would probably somehow line up the previous 2 questions and comments. I think that today we speak not even about gender equality, we speak also about diversity. And the example of my country shows that diversity is a security. And I think this is what's going on right now in the energy sector of Germany. You cannot count on someone one, you cannot count on something one, so that's actually the sources of energy, and that's also your team. So you need to have in your team different people. And me, for example, at the pre-war time, I always try to promote, and at the Women Energy Club of Ukraine, we promote the diversity. And there are numerous economical studies that for business sector, because I represent business sector, diverse teams, they work better. When you have women, men, people with special abilities, people from different cultures, they integrate together, they give you better results. So my point with this speech is that every woman here is a leader already. So our task is actually to deliver this message to the board, to deliver this message to our colleagues, that we do not necessarily need to have, 50 women. We need different teams. So we need to show to business sector what are the benefits of this policy. So it's, because business is always driving by economical factors. You cannot always prove that, it's good, it's a beautiful goal. You need to show that this has actually positive impact. So I think every woman in this whole, every man in this whole, we can actually, on our position, deliver these messages to our environment and do these changes, on our level, and this will be, growing and growing, and apparently countries will also make the relevant conclusions. So you need the diversity because you need the security.
Thank you. That's a very important point. And now you. Great talk, by the way.
Hi, just a very quick comment and then a question. I'm from the cooperative sector, so it's almost lonely in here for the energy and cooperative sectors together. It's not too lonely because we are funded by the BMZ, and we're considered by GVNet and GIZ to come here. But as we are facing very serious challenges to go forward in the energy transition in the cooperative sector. However, before there was a comment about investing in trust, that we are trusted as women. My question is, are we trusted with big money and big projects, or are we only trusted with small projects and small money?
Do you want to address it to someone in particular, or do you want to just...
No, feel free. I don't want to choose.
We start on this side this time. Go ahead.
I have a counter question to you. Do you trust yourself?
I absolutely do.
Then why do you worry whether it's a small project or a big project? Who is going to see you with that lens, whether it was a small project or a big project? It is how confidently you are going to portray your project to anybody for anything.
Yes, and would you think that if I come forward very confidently with my project and with all my facts and all my numbers, that the decision making and the world is going to trust me with that project? Not talking only about small projects that I would present as in a small organization.
I would say any project for that matter.
Yeah.
Ma'am, for any project for that matter. I had nothing in my hands. When I started founding my company, I had nothing. The bankers were not ready to open a current account for my company. And today I stand as top 40 women energy leaders of the globe.
Congratulations.
So you got your answer there.
Thank you.
Did you want to comment, or?
Well, congratulations, it's amazing. I think this aligns with the former 2 points. I do think that what we see is that women-led or female-led companies actually do perform better in our sector, but we are missing the insight, so we are missing the market intelligence to prove it. So I do think this is something that would really be, next to being super, super confident, would help companies in their fundraising challenges to actually prove the impact of having more gender equality on the business performance. So I do think that's one thing I wanted to add.
Thank you so much. Any other questions or comments you would like to make or ask? If not, I would like to invite our panelists for just a quick flashlight closing round. You've given so much great advice, and I'm just going to summarize what's already been said in terms of advice for women looking for financing, looking for investment in the energy sector, or looking for new opportunities they're trying to create to themselves. So, create networks. That was an important one. Believe in yourself. Trust in yourself was the one. Don't be afraid of big numbers. So those are things you already shared. Is there any other points of advice you'd like to add and share with our audience today? Do you want to start?
I'm just going to say from an entrepreneurial and private sector business perspective, I think women do good business because we take ethics and integrity into account a lot more than we realize. And I really think that conferences like this they need results, so we need to network with each other and then we need to do business with each other because that's how we're going to grow as professionals and as business people. Thanks.
And I think that's a really important thing you just said. Women do business with other women, again, it's a question of living the example and living the trust as well. Babette.
I think it's very good to be and to have a business when you are a woman because you are more flexible, you are more curious, you have more courage, and you are looking more for the money. So that is a good basic to have a successful business.
Thank you so much. Samira.
Well, I would just like to emphasize the networking and the supporting from one to another. Mentioning that also with our project in Brazil, we have supported the establishment of the first network of women in the solar energy sector in Brazil. We have representatives of yes, I'll say hello, from this network. And this network's helping women to be more confident in themselves, to be more prepared to face the the investments or their career in the academy or in the energy sector. And we promoted also the elaboration of a very beautiful film to encourage girls and women to come to the energy sector. And I think it's just a matter of it's not a matter of being better than the men, as others said, that you just have to have the same opportunities. So if we can balance this, everybody could just go on and prove that you can work. I think this is. Thank you.
Thank you, Samira.
I think I'll give her the option.
Do you want to go first? You want to give Rashi the last word?
I think the most important thing would be to share the word. I think the fact that we are here aligns that we are aware of these networks, we are aware of these conferences, but there are many people that are not, that might not be aware of women-focused trainings, women-focused resources. So I do think that it's we should keep on spreading the word and raise awareness amongst young women as well that try to enter the workforce, but beyond that. So maybe that's a call to action to all of you today.
Sorry, I didn't want to interrupt you. It's such an important one, especially just looking at the context of the event we're at here, right? I said it earlier today, but the contrast of being down there in the hall and then coming up here was quite a stark contrast. So perhaps we can think about also for the future, Women Energize Women conferences will host in contexts like this. How do we create more connections and more Durchlässigkeit, I would have said in German, and can't think of the English word right now, permeability between the worlds that are even colliding at this very event. So thank you very much for making that point. And now over to you.
Well, I think this is the beginning of the geometric progression for Women Energize Women. And in addition to what every one of the esteemed co-panelists have said here, the recipe to success would be being the best version of you. Strive every day to be the best version of you can be in whatever you do, in rather everything that you do. And there is no chance that you will fail, because you will always be successful because you are the best version of you. That's all.
Thank you so much. Let's have a big round of applause for all the panelists.